All right, let's get into it. Today we are talking about a really powerful tool for grading what might be your company's most valuable asset, its brand.
So let me ask you this. How strong is your brand? Really? It sounds like a simple question, right? But the answer is, well, it's anything but, especially if you're the one managing it day in and day out. How do you know for sure that you're even seeing it clearly?
And that is the real problem, isn't it? When you're that close to something, when you're completely immersed in it, being objective is almost impossible. It's like trying to read the label from inside the jar. You end up with these massive brand blind spots, and you completely miss what your customers are seeing plain as day.
So we're going to talk about these blind spots. And hey, this isn't about pointing fingers. It's not a personal failing. It's just a super common business challenge. Even the giants of industry deal with this. The good news is there's actually a system, a way to uncover them.
So what is this solution? Well, it's a classic framework from none other than marketing guru Kevin Lane Keller. This was first published in the Harvard Business Review, so you know it's legit. And this isn't some dusty academic theory either. It's a hands-on, practical tool built for the real world.
It's called the Brand Report Card, and its whole job, its entire reason for being, is to bring a little bit of objectivity into the super subjective world of brand management. It's designed to help you take that crucial step back and finally see the whole forest, not just the trees.
So what are we talking about here? Think of it like a report card. It's a system for grading your brand against the 10 things that the world's strongest, most unshakable brands all have in common. It's basically a health checkup for your brand.
Okay, 10 traits is kind of a lot to keep in your head at once. So the framework cleverly groups them into 3 big buckets. First, mastering customer value. Second, sharpening your strategy. And third, maintaining discipline. Simple enough, right? Let's dive into each one.
All right, first up, are you obsessed with your customers? This is the big one. It's all about how well you really, truly understand what your customers want, and then how well you deliver on that.
You know the strongest brands? They are absolute masters at this. They deliver benefits people actually care about. Think Starbucks. You're not just buying coffee, you're buying an experience. They stay relevant. Look at Gillette, always innovating. And their prices make sense because they're based on what the customer thinks it's worth, something P&G learned the hard way.
This quote from Howard Schultz just nails it. Before he turned Starbucks into the giant it is today, he had this huge realization. They weren't just selling coffee beans, a commodity. They were missing the heart and soul of it all, that community, that vibe of an Italian coffee bar. And that single shift from just selling a product to selling a benefit, well, that's what built the entire empire.
Okay, so you've nailed customer value. Great, but that's only part of the puzzle. Next up is strategy. Because let me tell you, you can have the best product in the world, but if your strategy is a mess, it will tank your brand. A confused brand is a weak brand, period.
A huge piece of this is having a clear portfolio. Just look at the Gap. It's brilliant. You've got Banana Republic for the premium stuff, Gap right in the middle, and Old Navy for the budget conscious. Each one has its own lane, right? There's almost no overlap. Now, compare that to General Motors back in the day. You had Cadillac, Buick, Oldsmobile, and they all started to blur together. Customers were just confused. They didn't know what each one was supposed to be anymore. See? Clarity is everything.
And then there's the killer, inconsistency. Oh man, this one is just as bad. Let's look at Michelob. It's a perfect cautionary tale. Over about 2 decades, their slogan was all over the place. First, it was for ambitious people. Then, weekends were made for Michelob. Then, the night belongs to Michelob. And finally, it was just, some days are better than others. What does that even mean? After all those mixed signals, people had no clue what Michelob was for. And guess what? Sales went right off a cliff.
And that brings us to our third and final area, disciplined execution. This is where the rubber really meets the road. This is the hard part, the long-haul work of keeping your brand strong through smart and, most importantly, consistent management.
And the most crucial piece of this is a serious reality check. You have to get brutally honest about what your brand truly means to people out there, to your customers. It's not about what you want it to mean. It's not about the fancy mission statement on your wall. It's about what they think and feel. That's it.
And oh boy, do I have a legendary story for you about what happens when you mess this up. Bic. We all know Bic, right? Their brand is built on being cheap, disposable, totally practical. Perfect for pens, lighters, razors. But then they launched a perfume. A cheap, disposable perfume. And it was an absolute spectacular failure. Why? because the whole idea of perfume is about luxury, prestige, emotion. Bic's practical vibe had none of that. It was a complete mismatch.
And don't think for a second this is just about new brands or struggling companies. No, even the biggest, most dominant market leaders have to keep a constant eye on their brand's health, because neglect, that's a one-way ticket to becoming irrelevant.
Take Disney back in the late 80s. They started to get this feeling that maybe, just maybe, their iconic characters were a little overexposed. So they did a deep dive, a full brand audit, and what they found was eye-opening. People felt like that special, magical relationship they had with Disney was being cheapened, even exploited, because Mickey Mouse was showing up on everything from floor wax to laundry detergent. That single insight was so powerful, it led them to create a whole new team dedicated just to protecting the brand's core meaning.
Okay, so we've gone through all these different areas. Now for the big question. How do you pull it all together and actually get your final grade?
Well, it looks a little something like this. You score your brand on every single dimension, and instantly you can see where you're knocking it out of the park and where you're falling flat. So for this brand here, they're fantastic at delivering benefits, a solid 9. But look at relevance and consistency. Yikes! That tells you exactly where you need to focus your energy and your budget.
But listen, this is really important. The goal here is not to get a perfect 10 across the board. That's basically impossible. The real goal is to understand the trade-offs. Pushing hard to improve one area might actually hurt another. This whole report card is about making those tough, strategic choices with your eyes wide open, knowing exactly what you're gaining and what you're giving up.
When you think about it this way, it totally reframes how you look at your marketing spend. It stops being an expense line on a spreadsheet and starts being what it really is, an investment. It's an investment in what customers know and, more importantly, feel about your brand. All of that's your brand equity. And that equity is like a strategic bridge, connecting everything you've done in the past to everywhere you want to go in the future.
And that really brings us to the final, most important point. You can do this whole exercise or you can ignore it completely. It doesn't matter, because your customers, they're already grading you. Every single day, with every purchase they make, every ad they see, every interaction they have. So the real question you have to ask yourself is, what does your report card say today?